Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be the end of year reading survey. I do this tag every single year, so I will link some of my past videos down below. I'm also going to link my Goodreads challenge and my Goodreads year in books. I will also link my 2021 reading in review video. I don't know if the original video or post for this tag is still up, but I will link some other tags or where I originally found this tag from. I'm also going to list all of the questions down below. So let's get into this tag. Question number 1, how many books did you read? I read 118 books. Number 2, did you meet your goal? Yes. Technically my goal is 100 books every year. However, I do try to aim for like 150 to 200. So I did meet it, but also at the same time, I didn't meet like the other goal I kind of had, I guess. Number 3, most read genre. Obviously it's romance. I don't know specifically like what subgenre I read. I feel like it was a lot of just contemporary. I don't think I read like a lot of dark romance or anything like that. I think a lot of it was just straight up contemporary. Number 4, longest and shortest books you read. The longest book I read was After We Fell by Anna Todd. This is the 3rd book in the After series. This has 837 pages. This was obviously a reread for me and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And the shortest book I read was Heartless by Danielle Allen. This was 100 pages and I gave this 2 stars. Number 5, favorite book published in 2021. For this, I obviously have 2 answers. So Call Me Crazy by Melanie Harlow. This is the 3rd book, I think, in the Bellamy Creek series. I just absolutely loved this. This is a hate to love, marriage of convenience, planned baby, and small town romance. It was just perfect. I loved it. I also really loved All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This is obviously a slow burn. I wouldn't say hate to love. It's more like Grumpy Sunshine, single dad, kind of wilderness nature, small town romance. These were just fantastic. I loved them both. Number 6, favorite debut book in 2021. I didn't really read a lot of debut books from authors, and if I did, it wasn't a favorite. So I went with Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is technically her debut novel. It came out in 2020, but I did read it in 2021. So I kind of classified this as like a debut from an author that I haven't read from before. Number 7, favorite book not published in 2021. Again, I have 2 answers for this. Marriage for One by Ella Mays. This is a slow burn, friends to lovers, marriage of convenience romance. It was just so beautiful. I loved it. And of course, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This is another slow burn, boss, employee, marriage of convenience, friends to lovers a little bit. It has so many different tropes and different elements, but I loved both of these. They are definitely like my top reads of the year. They were just fantastic. Number 8, a book that lived up to the hype. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This completely lived up to the hype for me. I remember hearing very mixed reviews, but I feel like the last year and a half, this book has been very well loved, very hyped, and I absolutely loved it. I kind of knew I was gonna love it because I love rock and roll music. That is like my favorite genre of music, and I'm always super fascinated by bands and just the era of like the 70s and 80s. I always think it's very interesting, so I kind of knew I was gonna love this, but I was like slightly scared because a lot of people say it's like really intimidating to read an interview style book, which I honestly thought it was very easy to read. It did take you like a couple of like chapters or parts to kind of like get into it and get in the groove of it, but I think it was like so easy to read. So this completely lived up to the hype. I absolutely loved it and I cannot wait for the TV show. Number 9, a book that did not live up to the hype. For this, I am sadly gonna go with The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armaz. This book wasn't bad at all, but I gave it 3 stars. I just heard so many good things about it and I know everybody loves it, and I was expecting to like literally fall in love with it from page 1, but I found it really hard to read. For me, The Spanish Love Deception was overwritten. I felt like there could have been so many things that were edited down. I found like the first chapter to be so hard to read. Like I could not understand why people would like pick it up and be like immediately drawn in. It is slow burn, which I don't really have a problem with that much anymore, but it took them to like half of the book to get to the actual point of the book, like the main plot of going to the wedding. It took them like half the book to get there. And I just feel like I wish it would have happened sooner because it just felt like that dragged. But again, it wasn't a bad book. I just feel like for it to be so hyped, I expected to love every single aspect of this book, and I didn't. Number 10, a book that felt like the biggest accomplishment. For this, I'm going to go with Normal People by Sally Rooney. This I ended up really enjoying, and I loved the TV show. I made a whole video on this. I will link it down below if you want to watch it. It wasn't the length that intimidated me about this book because it is pretty short, but I will say it's kind of like a complex read. I also wasn't sure how I would feel about reading a book without quotation marks. And I just heard that this is a book that you really have to like pay attention and follow along because you'll miss little things. But when I started reading it and finally getting into the story, I realized it wasn't really that difficult to read, but it did feel like a big accomplishment just because it's such a popular book. I still haven't read anything else by Sally Rooney. I don't know if I'm that interested in reading anything else by her, but I did enjoy this, and I think I'm still intimidated by her other books. That's why I'm not sure if I want to read anything else. Number 11, favorite character. For this, I'm going to mention a female character and a male character. So I think my favorite male character of the year is probably Kellen from the Thoughtless trilogy by S.C. Stevens. I don't know what it is, but I just really fell in love with him. He gives off these vibes that he's very much like a bad boy and that he's a player, but like deep down he is literally the biggest teddy bear. Like he has the softest heart. He really grew as a character and developed and matured, and he was just such a great male character. I really loved him. And my favorite female character of the year is Rose from Marriage for One by Ella Mays. Rose is just a very kind and somewhat quiet character. I think she always tries to see like the good in people, and she really just wants to succeed with her dreams. She also isn't afraid to stick up for herself and to ask for what she wants. She also doesn't forgive easily, but she's also like really sweet at the same time, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just really enjoyed Rose. I thought she was a fantastic female character. Number 12, least favorite character. For this, I actually don't have an answer. I was trying to think of like a character that I liked but like wasn't my favorite, and then I also tried to think of a character that I absolutely hated, and I couldn't really think of any. So this one I have no answer for. Number 13, most shocking book / moment. This one was hard for me to think of as well, but I am going to go with Mafia Bride by C.D. Reese. This book ends on a cliffhanger, and the end of the book was really shocking to me. Like I did not see it coming whatsoever. I remember feeling personally betrayed. Like I felt like that happened to me, and I was so angry. So I feel like that is the most shocking moment in a book for me in 2021. Number 14, favorite couple / OTP. I'm gonna go with Jack and Rose from Marriage for One. I just really loved them. I thought they were the perfect match for each other. I loved how they kind of like slowly fell in love with each other and like tried to take care of each other. Jack was so romantic and protective over Rose, and Rose just constantly wanted to make him laugh and smile. I just thought they were a fantastic couple, and I really enjoyed reading this book. I promise I'm going to have different answers after this next question. But number 15, the best written book you read in 2021. For this, I'm going to go with Daisy Jones and the Six. I just love the way this was written. I just thought it was something very different and unique, and I think Taylor Jenkins Reid has such a wonderful way with words. I think she is a phenomenal writer. Number 16, a book that you pushed the most people to read in 2021. This was really hard for me to think of because I don't feel like I pushed a lot of books in 2021. I feel like my reading was kind of all over the place, and I didn't consistently stay with one favorite. However, I do feel like I pushed My Midnight Moonlight Valentine by J.J. McAvoy a lot. This is a paranormal romance. It follows witches and vampires. I just loved the characters and the romance, and I feel like I talked about this book quite often throughout the year, so I feel like I probably pushed this one the most. But let me know what book you feel like I talked about a lot or that I made you read in 2021. Number 17, favorite book cover of the year, Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry. I love this cover. It is so pretty and unique. I feel like Devney Perry in general has very unique book covers. Like, hers are not the typical romance cover. I feel like she really tries to have very creative and unique covers. I just love this cover. I think it's so pretty and I love the blue. I also love the next book in the series. This series so far has just wonderful covers. Question number 18, favorite adaptation. I will have a video dedicated to my favorite movies and TV shows of 2021, so stay tuned for that. But my favorite movie of the year was After We Fell. I just loved this movie. It was so perfect. It followed the book close enough, but also added a little bit of something new. I loved the directing. I loved all of like the new casting. And I just loved Hero and Joe as Hardin and Tessa. I thought they did an amazing job with the characters, and I don't know, I just really, really loved this movie. I will also link my review for the movie if you want to know more of my thoughts. For my favorite TV show adaptations, I loved A Discovery of Witches Season 2. I love what they have done with the adaptation of the books. It's been years since I read the books, so I can't fully comment on like if I think they're completely accurate. I do think they have changed a decent amount, but I think they've kind of kept the core of the story, and I just love the casting. I love the sets and the costumes and the directing, and it's so like romance focused and romance heavy. I just absolutely love the show. It is one of my favorites, and season 2 was just amazing. I also really loved Panic. This was on Amazon Prime. This was an adaptation of Lauren Oliver's novel. It only had 1 season, but I thought the season was fantastic. I loved season 1. It was so fun, so entertaining, and I loved all of the actors. And then the other adaptation I really loved was Normal People. Again, I made a whole video on this, so I will link it down below. I loved the adaptation. It was literally perfect. It was like the book came to life. It was so accurate to the book. It was just amazing, and the acting was literally out of this world. It was so flawless. Number 19, what book made you cry the most? I'm gonna go with Daisy Jones and the Six, but also All Roads Lead Here. I cried a lot for both of these. For this one, I feel like it's very self-explanatory if you've read the book. I'm not really going to go into it because it's kind of spoilery, but I definitely cried a lot towards the end, and I cried a lot for like Karen and stuff. I don't know, there was just a lot of things, little things in here that added up that I ended up crying a lot. For All Roads Lead Here, I cried a lot with Aurora and her mom, and like that whole situation I cried a lot with. And then also Rhodes kind of made me cry a little bit. Like, he was just such a good guy, and just like the whole reason of him becoming like a dad and stuff was just very emotional. I don't know. I cried for both of these. I just really, really loved them. Number 20, what book made you laugh the most? Wait for It by Mariana Zapata. This book was so cute and so funny. Our female character essentially like adopts her brother's kids. So she's an aunt slash like mom or like mother figure, and the kids are so cute and so funny. There were so many moments in here where I just literally laughed out loud. I had to put the book down at one point because I was laughing so much at like very specific scenes. I just thought this book was adorable and hilarious, and it really, really made me laugh. Number 21, a new favorite author you discovered this year. I'm going to say Mariana Zapata. However, this is not the first year I have read Mariana Zapata. I read Colty, I want to say in 2019, or it could have even been in 2020. I don't remember, but I read Colty back then and absolutely loved it. So Mariana Zapata is not a new author that I discovered, but I finally read a majority of her novels and just really fell in love with most of them. So that is why I'm picking her as like a new favorite author I discovered, even though I knew of her before and I have read her before. Number 22, guilty pleasure read of the year. For this, I'm going to say my reread of Beautiful Bastard. I started slowly rereading the series and I kind of fell in love with it all over again. I absolutely loved rereading this first book and the second book. I forget how much I really enjoyed this series. It is actually like one of the first romances or erotica romances that I read back in the day. It was just really fun to reread this, and it's kind of inspired my goals for 2022 to reread more of my old favorites books, and I can't wait to continue rereading the rest of the series this year. And for the last question, favorite book you reread in 2021? For this, I'm obviously going to go with Thoughtless. I first read this back in 2015 and I gave it 3 stars. I never ended up continuing the series because I just didn't like the book that much. And then around the summer, I was talking with a friend and she was talking about how much she loved this series, and it kind of inspired me to reread this first book to see if I would like it now. So that's what I ended up doing, and I completely fell in love with this book, and I read the rest of the series and I really, really loved it. It was just super addicting and kind of exhausting, but like in a good way. And I just really fell in love with the characters and the story, and I am so happy I reread it and loved it, and that I was able to continue reading the series. This was definitely my favorite reread of the year. So that was it for my 2021 end of year reading survey. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know some of your answers to these questions down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.